Hey everybody, my name's Brendan, and today we're going to talk about silence. Did that make you feel uncomfortable? It's amazing how in the modern age we've been so used to everything going on around us. The TV can be on. We've probably got music playing in the background. Cars are going past us on the road outside. We're being inundated and bombarded by social media alerts. Very rarely do we get time to sit back and take stock and understand what's really going on. But the reason why I'm going to talk to you about silence today is because it's a really powerful tool in your toolbox in the workplace. Why am I telling you this? Because I guarantee you somebody has used it against you already. Now that in itself is pretty powerful. Think about it. When was the last time you were truly quiet at work? Why is silence awkward for us? Well, quite simply, when silence occurs, it forces us to acknowledge the automatic thoughts that we've got or we've had that we may have otherwise missed. What it actually does is it causes us to overthink. How many times have you heard the phrase, you get lost in your thoughts? Some of that might be that you're trying to work through a particular problem or a scenario. The other side might be you actually don't like silence. For those of us that are extroverts, being on your own and having your own company can be a bit fearful, and certainly during coronavirus, I'm sure many of us have battled with that. Being an introvert, having the moments amongst yourselves and the time to reflect and maybe the silence around you has been a positive. But if everything is going on around you and you've got distractions and alerts and demands on your attention, why do we fear silence? Well, as with many things, it can actually date back to impacts on childhood. I'm not here to unwind every nuance and every reason why you've grown up the way you are, far from it. But think back to when you were growing up. Were you surrounded by television and noise and music and the radio on and everything going on around you? Well, that's cool. But that may influence why you like having noise around you now. So for example, if I think back to my younger days, there was usually sport on in some way, shape or form. My father is a big sports fan, as am I. But as I go through life now, I love having the radio on in the background. Now, I'm also very comfortable in silence, but just having that background noise for me is quite comforting. Less interested in the television, if I'm perfectly honest, but just that background noise, whether it be music or talking, is hugely reassuring for me. I'm very aware that others growing up, music and noise and TV may have been less prominent. Now, were you doing chores or playing puzzle or whatever it might be, and you were actually surrounded by silence? That may have followed you through into later life. Now, thinking about it, there is actually a phobia of silence, sedatophobia, the fear of silence. Now, the reason for telling you that is because in the workplace, people will use it against you. Now, who doesn't like the awkward silence? I for one, will quite happily put my hand up and say, you know what, it used to be really, really awkward. It can often signify a lack of structure or a lack of direction in a particular conversation. That's fine. Sometimes conversations come to their natural conclusion and it's time to wrap it up and go your own way. But other times, those people sat across the table from you may use it as a tool in their toolbox to get what they want. Because silence can be used in a really powerful way. Think about it. How do you fill that awkward moment? How do you fill that awkward silence? Chances are, you'll say something. Who doesn't like that silence to irradiate around the room? Who's the first person to dive in and say something so that the silence is broken? Now, I'll tell you a little. At the beginning of my career, I saw this firsthand and learnt the hard way that the awkward silence is a very powerful tool and often means that you give away more than you wanted to. So back in my audit days, I had to present a particular report and an audit to one of the partners, and sat across the table and said a piece, and the partner asked a question. Very tough, but a fair question. After I'd given my response, the partner sat there and just sat back, looked at it, but didn't say anything else. Immediately, I noticed the silence. See, the moment the silence arrives, it gives the other person a chance to say more, and you then, if you're questioning yourself on your subject matter, it can be quite an intimidating moment. Uncertainty and fear also can flow through your body. Now, because I didn't like the silence and hadn't been exposed to it previously, I filled the space. I started talking about something that was completely irrelevant. In actual fact, I dug myself into a hole. And the byproduct was that I ended up giving myself more work, because what I said triggered a thought process that the partner then asked me something about, which I had no intention of talking about in that meeting. I'm sure you've all seen it in action. It's a great negotiation tool, and if you get the chance to see in the boardrooms or some really nitty-gritty negotiations, it's used with great results, as long as you're on the side that gets what they want, I suppose. But as a leader, how can you use silence as a powerful tool in your armory? 5 ways that you, a leader, can use it. Here we go. Number 1, it builds trust. There's a reason why we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, as the phrase goes, but in actual fact, building trust revolves around listening. Far too often, there are people keen to tell you their opinion, when in actual fact, the right thing to do at that stage is to listen. Silence allows somebody else to speak. Having trained as a life coach, I'm also very aware that silence allows the other person to really understand and go through their thoughts before saying anything else. It needs to be within the confines of a safe space. It's actually really powerful, because once you go through that silence, the other person feels comfortable and will actually talk about what they really want to talk about. Now, I'm not suggesting you do this in the workplace every day, and far from it, because that could be slightly detrimental, but the point is, using silence is a really powerful tool. Because by listening, not only are you giving them the courtesy of allowing them to speak, but you can actually then understand what really isn't being said. That's the true power of listening, and you can only get there by leveraging the silence. Number 2, it emphasises a point. Just like that. Now, far too often, and you'll see this with a whole number of people, why use 2,000 words when 20 will do? It's easy to get lost in the cacophony of words and meanings and analogies and acronyms and all that sort of jargon. Cut the crap. Say what you need to say and allow the question to be listened to, or statement, or whatever it might be. Too many words will mute the point and turn people off in the conversation that you're having. You don't need to shout, you don't need to scream, you just need to clearly articulate the point you're trying to make and then be quiet. Because I guarantee you, those people who speak less, listen more, when they do speak, the point they try to make will be really powerful, or certainly worth listening to. Number 3, as I alluded to earlier, the negotiation. Not in the way that the Donald thinks that he can, but in actual fact, the art of being able to get what you want. Now, I'm not confessing to be a negotiation expert, far from it, and those others in the industry, such as I think Seth Godin talks about it, and some of the other leading authors, will be able to go into it in far greater detail. But suffice it to say, as I've alluded to earlier, the power of silence is a very, very strong tool. I hope that if you ever need it in the art of negotiation, it gets you what you want. Number 4, silence empowers others. You know, why should I say something when one of my team or a colleague can say it in a better way? Leaders empower. Whatever style of leadership you employ, However you want to do it, your silence and encouraging others can be one of the most powerful tools you have. It's really, really empowering to say to somebody else, I want to hear what you have to say. Now don't just say that and then switch off. Say that and listen. That goes back to the listening point a moment ago. It's the whole point of building trust is to listen. You empower by allowing others to speak and then listen to what they have to say. Leadership is around empowering and encouraging others to do great things. As a leader, you're often here just to guide within the guardrails and help get the best out of people. How do you do that? Empower them. Now, I'm fully aware that it might not always go well, and there's some tactics that you can use to help people develop. But as a leader, use silence to help input others. Number 5, get the answer. That's it. State the question, stop talking. How many times have you seen it, and especially in the news when journalists are doing, is they will set up a question, you'll get to the question mark, and then all of a sudden they'll carry on going. Not only is that a very closed way of asking a question and it influences the outcome, it's really easy to misinterpret or just lose what the question actually is. So, as the acronym says, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Say the question in as clear and concise manner as possible, and then shut up. Let it linger. Let people understand and take it in, and then ponder, and then think, and then respond. The more you talk, the harder that is to do. And then number 6, which is a bit of a bonus, silence is a great way to center yourself. Center yourself in the way that just means that you are comfort and content with the world. That can be done through mindfulness, meditation, just unplugging from the digital world, spending some time going for a walk without earphones or speaking on the phone and just taking in everything around you. It's also about being present. Present in the moment, present here and now, present to the person that you're talking to in front of you. So, they're the 6 ways that you can use silence as a leader. Now, I will absolutely confess to you, it is not easy. It's really awkward, and I promise you at some point it will go wrong. More often than not, you'll learn the hard way when it's done to you. But it is a really, really important skill to learn, especially as you grow as a leader and help get the best out of others. And so that's it. They're my 6 tips on how to use silence as a leader. Please give us a thumbs up if you like the video and click the subscribe button. That would be great. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.